Welcome to the Flickering Myth podcast for the week of February 11th through the 17th. I'm Alan Christian.
I'm Gerald James.
I'm Tori Brazier.
And I'm the four categories the Oscars hate, EJ Marino.
We're going to be breaking down a little bit of this week's news, but we're mostly going to be talking about the Oscars, because this is our Oscars special. So let's go ahead and jump into the Oscars.
Okay, well, shall I do that now? Really awkward segue about some of the most recent updates, which will probably be rendered totally old news by the time this actually is live and the Oscars happen.
Well, I actually wanted...
They keep changing their mind and bowing to peer pressure. The most recent example being that of taking back the whole idea to shorten the broadcast to be, I guess, more commercial friendly and get a bigger audience they were probably never going to get. And they are going to televise the 4 awards that they'd said they were only going to show shortened bits of.
Yeah.
Which I think was photography, editing, hair and makeup, and...
A live action short film.
Thank you. So I was like a whole category being like, you bitch, you forgot us. That one, yes. Yeah. So, but I was actually doing a little bit of research and I didn't realize they'd done so many flip-flops. That's the most recent one. But obviously they had the whole issue with Kevin Hart being the host, him resigning, not wanting to apologize, but then apparently trying to get him back anyway, then deciding not to have a host. They then were not apparently going to go with the tradition of having the previous year's winners in the acting categories present to the winners for this year, but apparently they've changed their mind on that. They are going to do that. And also one that had slightly passed me by, they had announced they were only going to have 2 songs being performed from the 5 that are nominated, but now they're having 4.
Yes, because that was a good one. I like that story because Kendrick Lamar and Lady Gaga would not perform unless every other song had a chance. And that was so cool. That's kind of what I've liked about them getting the 4 categories back, them getting the songs back, is these artists want other artists to be recognized. And who cares if you don't get 15 million people watching? This is about the industry. Keep it professional like this.
Yeah, and cutting
cinematography
was...
I think it's only 4 of the 5 songs that are being performed at the moment. The song nominated from Black Panther, as far as I'm aware, is not being performed.
Yeah, Kendrick is on his I don't like anybody kick right now, which is fair. So,
but it's a week away. I'm sure he could come round in that time, and the Academy could make several decisions and then change their minds again in that time. So,
because his song from All the Stars song from Black Panther is great and with good competition, but shallow. It's going to be shallow.
I mean, it's going to be shallow.
Yeah.
But my personal opinion, let's go ahead and say it. The track he did with The Weeknd, I thought was better than All the Stars.
It was.
I mean, I like the really hip hop song "King's Dead" with Future and J Rock and all that. I like that one more than All the Stars. But hey, like, that's a good soundtrack. That's also a good score. That's probably a category we won't talk about. But Black Panther has a great score.
Yeah,
I hope it eats up everything there.
That score, a lot of tracks from that score.
Having seen that most recently, that was a beautiful score.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching it thinking, like, surely this is nominated, and I checked and it is. So I don't know.
I feel like Isle of Dogs has a good score, but I think something about the Black Panther one, I'm just really impressed with that. And that was a picture that I didn't think should be nominated for Best Picture. I was really against it. And then I started doing my ballot, and I have it to win a lot of the like technical categories, and that changed my opinion. I was just like, you know what? Like, it has good production design. It has a good score, good costumes. Damn it, it deserves to be here. And I had this like big revelation where I was like, I've been a douchebag. Oh my God, I should just hate on Bohemian Rhapsody now.
Should we use this as our segue into discussing each of the Best Picture nominees?
We're going to take a quick ad break.
Alan, I don't know if you have anything to add on Black Panther specifically, if we kind of wrap that one up first.
No, not at the moment, but we're going to I got to put in a quick ad break here, and then jump back.
Let's make some money.
None of them are paid. But yeah, let's get into it. We just talked about Black Panther a good bit. And I said that I didn't have any more thoughts on that because I just needed to get that ad break in. But I got I've got a couple. My initial reaction to it getting nominated was that it didn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Because while I really liked Black Panther, like it's one of my favorite movies of 2018, I think my initial reaction was like, but that's the superhero movie that we're finally going to nominate for Best Picture?
Agreed.
And, it's certainly not the best superhero movie ever made, but when you stack it up against the other things that came out this year, it deserves to be there. Like, it's fine. I
still think Infinity War to me was a bigger cinematic moment with that soap opera ending of all of this MCU, all those characters together. I think the scope of it felt to me more grand, a little bit more Oscar friendly. But that was my only thing where I was like, I thought Infinity War would be the one Disney would put it behind, and then I was like, damn, Black Panther is kind of it's stacked against some of the other competition.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. One, I feel like Black Panther deserves it more than Infinity War because this feels like a standalone film. It feels like you don't have to have that notebook of what's happened here and there to go into Black Panther, enjoy it, and watch it and enjoy it. That said, I feel like the reason Infinity War was passed on is because we're going to see a lot of Endgame next year in the Oscars. And I feel like it's going to be like their Return of the King moment.
I just gonna say, and then I would hope then maybe A Star Is Born can win this year, so a gay musical can be a nerd movie, and then the nerd movie can win next year. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you really think that they're going to try to build for Endgame to be?
I really do. I feel like they're like.
You think that that's the magnum opus, like how Return of the King was the fantasy genre? You think that this is what's going to really push the superhero genre?
I believe so, or at least I believe that's what they're going
to try. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
It may. I don't know. We're speculating about a film that we won't see for another month and a half.
Sure,
so.
Well, I kind of agree with. I think it should though, because kind of with my reasoning, there isn't a film franchise that has tried to do like a soap opera. As much as I give the MCU crap for literally everything, I will say it has tried to build something that no other franchise has tried to do. No horror franchise, James Bond can't really. They can do it loosely. They should be kind of a good pat on the back for doing something new in this industry, which is hard to do in 2019.
Yeah, maybe, but like when you're considering a best picture, you've got to give it to the best picture and not like it goes towards that movie specifically. Like a lot of people like to say they
no, there is more to a best picture than just the movie itself. It's what it does for a culture, what it does for a genre.
Oh, yeah, sure, but I'm talking about in that like you shouldn't award a best picture because it's good combined with all the other movies that came before. That's exactly
why I called it the Return of the King.
Yeah, but Return of
the King was not the best picture that year. I don't even remember what year it was, but I remember thinking, wow, that doesn't deserve it at all.
2003 or 4, I think.
Yeah, it would have been early 2004 for the year 2003.
Yeah.
It didn't deserve it, but they kind of threw it on that to recognize the trilogy.
I guess, but like
they do that a lot with
Return of the King's
TV.
An actual good movie.
They'll award TV actors. The series is over. Now you win best comedy because Big Bang Theory's over or whatever. They do it a lot though.
Maybe. I don't think they should.
I'll bet you money.
Okay. So in-game, we're going to see the in-game get that.
Sorry, for my 2 cents worth, I'm going to reiterate, going back to Black Panther, I think the Academy has kind of dug itself into a hole here, and very much for me, it's a kind of hangover of they announced this popular picture category. Everyone said it was a terrible idea and was kind of insulting to films that the Academy was clearly calling lightweight. So they went back on that, and then they were like, oh, well, shit, we've got to at least have one of the films nominated in the full Best Picture category that we would have put in that. That's not me saying Black Panther shouldn't be nominated in any way. I'm just saying I think that's specifically why it was nominated. Right. And I feel like for the same thing, they are now kind of, I mean, it could be a good thing. For at least the next however many years, they've kind of forced themselves to consider more of these types of films as serious contenders, because they tried to separate them. They tried to make them seem lesser or different, like they couldn't be compared. And when everyone told them that was a terrible, terrible idea, they've kind of forced themselves into this box where they actually are like, oh, well, we kind of have to consider them alongside the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Well, you have a good point there, but this is a good year for that because Bohemian Rhapsody made a lot of money. As much as I have my beef with it, it made like $800 million. A Star is Born domestically made a lot of money as well. Same thing with internationally. So this is a good year that I do think popular films, quote unquote, were represented. Yeah, there's not a lot of superhero movies or big action movies like a Mission Impossible, Fallout, which is a strong film, I think, too. But I do think this was a good year that they do have some mainstream movies because like A Star is Born, almost everyone saw that movie or at least heard about it, and that's rare for a Best Picture nomination.
Shall we move on to Bohemian Rhapsody, seeing as we have beef to discuss?
Yeah, I didn't see it. Did you two see it? Did both of you see it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay, so
I watched. Yes. It was on the laptop screen. I watched it. I think it shouldn't be here. Period. I don't, and that's not my shade to Bryan Singer. That's a whole different, screw him. I hope you never work again. Blah 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 kind of mentality. But like the movie's poorly cut together. It's weird. Like the editing of this movie is sloppy. Other than Rami Malek, it felt like everyone was asleep. I don't know. I don't get it. Same thing with Green Book. Green Book's another one that I think my, elderly grandparents might love it, but I don't. But yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody is the one I'm like, I don't get you. I don't know why you're here. Rami Malek does fine though. He's fantastic. Fantastic.
So I think the thing with Bohemian Rhapsody is obviously it was massively thrown off by the fact that it ended up winning a Golden Globe for Best Film. And even despite the fact that they've even separated the films into two categories and put it into drama, and it still somehow managed to win. Now I'm gonna kind of ignore the whole Bryan Singer thing for a moment because it's really complicated to process. And actually, EJ, I think I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, Gerald Allen and I actually went on a big rant about the whole story and all the stuff with him and
I loved it. I was very proud of. I was cheering.
All that terrible rubbish. Yeah. So I'm sure people don't need to hear it again.
Yeah.
You can go and read the Atlantic article if you haven't. But moving that aside, I think you're right. You kind of need to consider it in its own merits away from him. Lots of other people watching the film. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. That is not me saying it should win an Oscar. I had just heard terrible things. I just heard, it is incredibly biased. I will give it that, definitely. But I'd heard it doesn't even mention any of Freddie Mercury's hard partying and taking drugs. Doesn't mention him being gay. Everyone is a crap actor. Blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I can see why some people said things like that. But actually, I felt it did more than I was expecting it to.
I agree with you. As our residential homosexual here, I don't think he needs to have a rainbow flag every scene going, I love men, this is my thing. I liked the representation. I thought they did a good representation of a bisexual human being or a queer person as he was. He liked everything. I
genuinely, I can't remember who I can't remember who I'd read this from, but they genuinely made it sound like it was in one line, in one scene, one member of Queen was like, yeah, well, Freddie likes men. And that was it. That's genuinely how much they were saying, or how little they were saying it was covered. And that's not true. I feel like they covered it as much as it was necessary to the story. Him being gay, him having that lifestyle, him having those troubles makes him Freddie Mercury, but it's not all he's about.
Yes, which is crazy because I think it's funny. This can lead us into another one. I love that that's not even the gayest movie this year. We have The Favorite. To me, that is the LGBT film of the year.
Well, was there anything else we wanted to add about Bohemian Rhapsody before we move on? Because I do want to kind of make sure that we segment them so that, instead of running on.
My final thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody would be, I think people have been unfair to the other actors in the cast. I feel like general consensus has been it's all about Rami Malek and no one else is really any good. I respectfully disagree with that. I feel like obviously it's all about Freddie Mercury mainly, but I don't, people were kind of suggesting, the film kind of grinds to a halt when they're not singing a song or Freddie's not on the scene. And I think that's a little unfair. It's a disservice to the other guys. They're clearly there to be background more than anything, but they're good. And I really liked Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, but for me, he wasn't 100% convincing 100% of the time. And some of that might be because Freddie Mercury was such an extraordinary character and he's so instantly recognizable that I felt every now and then it kind of just slipped into a little bit of parody almost. But that's
He felt like a Saturday Night Live character sometimes for me.
Yes,
So
that's a pretty good way of putting it.
yeah, and that's I mean, these are all the end of my nice things. So we can definitely move on whenever everyone else is ready.
To me,
I'm
it
ready.
just seemed like you know, I don't like vanity biographies that much.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of it, and that's like the guys from Queen, you know, had a big hand in this being made, and I
Yeah.
really don't like that concept. Like, I liked Straight Outta Compton. I thought it was a good film, but at the same time, it like wildly like glances over some pretty, you know, terrible things
Right.
that would have been addressed in a biography that was made in a more legitimate way, as opposed to people being like, "This is our story and we're making a movie about it." So I just don't like the concept. Like,
Yeah, but
you
look
don't
at
get
the
to tell your own
opposite.
story, you know?
Look at the opposite though with Vice, where you have someone who completely hates somebody. Like Adam McKay hates Dick Cheney, and I think that's so interesting. Where I have no problems really with Vice, but it does feel like what a difference when you have the opposite, where you have someone who hates somebody. And I was just like, can I have somebody a little bit more in the middle? So
Well,
this
that's
movie
like
feels
honestly one of my favorite biopics of all time is Anton Corbijn's Control, which was about Ian Curtis of Joy Division,
Yeah.
and that source material was from Ian Curtis's widow, so it showed both sides of him, and I felt like that really got the point across, and that's why like I didn't watch Bohemian Rhapsody because I knew it would be homogenized. It would have been just kind of filtered and edited out and show you what they wanted you to see. And that's not what I want for my biopics. That's why, like I said, Control.
Yeah.
That's the one standard I put them all on.
We were
Yeah.
gonna.
No, I think that's a valid point because I liked Bohemian Rhapsody, but I think you have to be blind to not see how biased it is. And I do feel like that is a big black mark against it when it comes to judging which was the best film of this year. Because essentially that's what the Oscars, everyone takes the Oscars as the important ones. And yeah, I think the fact that it's so biased, I mean, in a loving way, but it's biased. And yeah, it's not showing both sides of the story.
We were gonna veer into the favorite, but now EJ brought up Vice, so I think we really should talk about that one.
Vice. I have so many thoughts on Vice. Oh my god.
EJ is right.
Go first, EJ.
I'm gonna go first because I got a rant.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, go
Okay. EJ is right. Adam McKay clearly does hate Dick Cheney. But here's the thing. I don't think you can have a centrist view on Dick Cheney. You either don't know anything about Dick Cheney, you're a monster that thinks Dick Cheney was a good guy, or you fucking hate Dick Cheney. Like, I don't think it was that great of a movie. I think it's kind of a headache. But I'm a big history buff, and I'm big into knowing why we are where we are. And it's a great book I'd recommend if anybody has any interest in why America is in the Middle East. I think it's called America's War for the Greater Middle East by Andrew J. Basovich, who was a retired Army colonel that went to Princeton and became a historian afterwards. And it details every stupid reason that we've gotten involved in anything in the Middle East. And it's mostly because you Brits screwed it up over there to begin with.
Excuse me. We will talk more on this later.
But Dick Cheney, I mean, he certainly wasn't the reason we were over there to begin with. But his escalation, his ideas on the escalation of it, and people can say whatever they want about the balance of power between him and George Bush, but George Bush didn't, like, he had some ideas, and I'm not going to say he's a saint at all, he was a monster too, but Dick Cheney really pushed us into a lot of that. And the film, like, it extrapolates a lot of things about his personal life and maybe it can be tagged on for that because he is a pretty private man. But as far as the beats of everything post 9/11, it's pretty accurate. So
Mm.
I don't know if there is a center story to tell about Dick Cheney. I think uh, I mean this definitely didn't have like a soft touch at all. It definitely really was
No.
just kind of full of seething hatred for the man.
Yeah.
And, and maybe it could have been done better, but I don't know if there's really a way to humanize Dick Cheney any more than they did in this movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when I was watching it, I know I'm being manipulated, and I'm okay with that. When I say manipulated, what I mean is like I know I'm being shown the view of someone who cannot be unbiased.
Mm,
I'm being shown the view of this person by the director and writer who, as you said, loathes him. I mean,
mm,
this film is out to eviscerate Dick Cheney and everything he ever did.
Mm.
And I don't mind because I'm like, at least it's clear. So because I know he's coming from that, I can use my own intelligence, if you will, to like decide how I feel. And I mean, let's face it, I'm pretty much in agreement with Adam McKay. Obviously, being in the UK, I'm not quite as involved with US politics, but I'm probably a reasonably good person to test this film on because I know who Dick Cheney is. I knew that he was vice president, but I mean, this is all before my time. Like I was a kid,
mm.
but I'm vaguely aware. So this was kind of like a baptism of fire into what he did. And like Adam McKay's way of making a film is very singular. Like it's not subtle, and it's very stylized, and it's really on the nose in places. But I quite like it. I feel like it went beyond even like making a statement. It was just so far on the like, I hate Dick Cheney, let's ruin him and let's make sure I can just bring him down in the most public forum I can think and make everyone agree with me. And I don't mind that. I was really entertained.
Like, I personally thought Vice was a really good film. As much as I hate
Yeah.
to say it, though, my problem with it was that in comparison, the entire time I was watching this, I was comparing it to The Big Short. And one of the
No, I will
problems,
say I've not seen The Big Short, so I can't do this.
oh
in
my
fairness.
God, watch it. Honestly, I liked it more than Vice.
I know.
But one of the things when watching it is with The Big Short, it kept me entertained because there were times where my jaw was on the floor because I was like, I can't believe someone did that. I can't believe that happened. But with Vice, it's like, yeah, I remember this. I know this happened.
Yeah.
So, like, my jaw wasn't dropping, it was just clenching up. And that's one of the things, like, there was more humor with The Big Short, which it knew exactly when it needed to throw in a dose of humor to keep you from, like, just wanting to throw things at your television screen. And with Vice, it had a couple of hits here and there where it kind of like brought you to like, ha, thank God, lighten it up a little bit. But it was just so much more just deep and down for the most part that I feel like it needed a little bit more levity, as much as I hate to say it, because it's not a funny movie,
No.
but to keep
Except
you.
when he's having a heart attack. I found that hilarious.
Oh, no,
I
those bits
didn't
were
because
hilarious.
it infuriated me that he didn't just die.
I mean, isn't that like one of life's greatest ironies? He's in the middle of some like terrible scheme, has a heart attack, and you just know he's not going to die.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, every performance in this film knocked it out of the park.
Mhm.
Like Amy Adams, Christian Bell, obviously, Stephen
Yeah.
Carell, everybody killed it in this film, which is hard to do when you're playing a real life person because, yeah, again,
Yeah.
going back to what we were saying about Bohemian Rhapsody, at times it can feel like a parody of that person. And though we did see quite a bit of parody with Sam Rockwell's Bush, it still was like enough there where it could be like, yep, nope, I see that. Okay, we've got
Yeah.
this. So for the performances alone, I can understand why it's here. As far as the message, of course, it's on the nose. It's not even on the nose. It just hits you in the head with a frying pan.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. What's the next step of being beyond the nose?
Yeah. So, I can understand, why some people walked out, not necessarily liking it, not just from a political standpoint, but just looking at it as a film, well written, even if the pacing seemed odd at times, and the performances were fantastic. So that's all I've got to say about it.
EJ?
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. Not one of my favorite biopics. I like more Spike Lee's Malcolm X, Oliver
Mhm.
Stone's W. That's kind of more my thing, where it's like as central as you can be. Those figures aren't as bad as Dick Cheney, so I get it. It was fine. I don't love it, don't hate it. It's to me the worst kind of film to review, where I'm just like, it was okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like. I kind of agree with you guys. I live in America. I'm almost 30. I know all of this. None of this really shocked me. I didn't learn anything. Good performances. I love Amy Adams. She's my favorite actress right now.
Oh, she's
I will
brilliant.
literally watch her in anything. She was in an episode of Buffy back in the day, to Enchanted, to
Yeah.
now. Like, she's great.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know she was in Buffy.
It literally one
Yeah.
episode. Yeah, just like a small thing, but adorable. I don't know. She just makes me genuinely happy.
Yeah, I like the whole cast. Honestly, I thought Sam Rockwell getting nominated for Best Supporting was weird. Not that he didn't do a great job, but like he just wasn't in that much
Right.
of it. I thought
I
Steve
agree.
Carell
Yeah,
was.
I was thinking like an hour and 10, 20 minutes in. He's not appeared yet.
Yeah.
He was a far smaller part than the trailer led me to believe. And that's not a problem. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Big surprise.
it stands as more of a cameo, as where like
Yeah.
a real supporting actor in this would be Carell as Rumsfeld. Like he's right
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
all through it, and I thought he did a great job. And I like Steve Carell when he's not trying to be funny.
You like him when he's not trying to be funny.
Yeah, like when he tries to be funny,
Same.
I'm like, shut up. But whenever
Yeah,
he's
I think he brings much more nuance when he's potentially told you can't mug for the camera
Mhm.
because we need you to act. He still goes over the top on the funny moments, but his being reined in and just grounding it that bit more just makes him so much more palatable to watch as a performer. And I genuinely think, even in his quietest moments, which you don't get to see that much, it actually shows what a good actor he is.
Yeah. I never thought that my least favorite Daily Show correspondent would end up being like an actor that I'm really interested in following. Ever since I saw Foxcatcher, like I'm like, okay, like I'm on the Steve Carell train. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we've probably expended Vice. Let's talk about the favorite, which might be my favorite.
See what you did there.
I know, like, I haven't really talked to Gerald about it. I know you guys like it. So let's get Gerald's thoughts.
I'm kind of surprised I was going first. I was going to hold off on it.
Just railroaded
This
you.
was my favorite of the films I've seen this year.
Yeah.
Just yet again, like, performances were fantastic. This film made me realize I think my favorite actress at the moment is Emma Stone. Like, when you were talking about Amy Adams, it made me realize that between this and Maniac this year, like, Stone has just proven to me that she's probably my favorite actress. The entire film, like, at first I was going into it thinking, great, it's going to be a sleepy period piece. But I was proven, like, terribly wrong. Terribly wrong. Everything killed it. Like, the script kept you on your toes, even during the parts that you would think are boring, like trying to talk about, should we pull out of France? Like,
Or
that's
duck racing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's stuff that you would think would bore you to tears, but the way it's written, the way it's acted, and even the way it's shot, it keeps you drawn into it. The only thing that I thought was maybe a little much was when they were using the whole, like, Frasier title cards for different pieces of the film. I was like, well, maybe we could do away with that.
Yeah.
But
That's okay, though. That didn't bother me.
aside from that, like, my God, the performances from everyone involved, it just absolutely killed it. Like, the entire time I was watching the movie, beyond the first, like, 15 minutes, my jaw was on the floor. But then again, I love watching people's descent into villainy, and that's what this film is.
Oh, yeah.
Is watching, like, because at the beginning of the film, you are so sympathetic for Emma Stone's character, but by the end of the film, you're like, oh my God. And that's one of my favorite types of films, is where you can watch this character progression. And, like, the people that you hated, you end up feeling some sympathy for, and the people that you loved, by the end, you're like, what the hell did you do? And this film did it. And one of the things that, like, obviously the sets and the costumes were amazing, But one thing as far as the cinematography goes was they were using in some like just random shots they would go with like, oh, we're going to use a fisheye lens
Yeah.
now. And it's jarring, but at the same time, it changes things just enough visually to keep you invested in the film. So this movie, like, I had never seen any of this director's work before, but I'm probably going to go back
Yeah.
and watch it. 'Cause,
Watch
like,
The Lobster. The killing of the sacred deer is weird, like indie horror, so it's just dry. The Lobster is funny. Again, I will say those are the two differences.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to go back and watch The Lobster because I've heard the name in passing before, and I was like, oh well, that sounds really freaking stupid. But now having seen something else from this director, I'm like, okay, maybe he can do something with this. But The Favorite was my favorite film of the year that I've watched that's on this list, and I definitely believe that Emma Stone should get Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I learned things from it too. I know a good bit about the historical time period.
Mhm.
I did not know. I always thought that Sarah Churchill was in Close with the Queen because of Lord Marlborough's position. Lord Marlborough was in his position because the Queen loved Sarah Churchill.
Yeah.
So that's a fun fact. I thought this is the most I've ever liked Rachel Weisz.
What?
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah,
She existing is the reason you should love her. The Mummy. Oh my God, being married to Daniel Craig. Come
yeah.
on.
yeah.
I do love Rachel Weisz anyway.
I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
just got.
She's so beautiful.
I think I just like she fell out of favor in my mind because she married Darren Aronofsky at one point.
We all make mistakes, even Jennifer Lawrence.
But
Though
We
I
all
love Mother,
eventually marry.
I love that movie.
We all eventually marry Darren Aronofsky, so sooner or later.
Metaphor for rock bottom.
At least she came
We
to
all
her
hit our
senses.
Aronofsky.
And,
I don't think she ever actually married him. I believe they were engaged
Okay.
for
okay,
ever, and then she saw sense.
and then
No,
she
yeah,
she
Jennifer
saw
Lawrence called the
sense
box
and
office for Mother and said bye.
yeah. She saw some sense and went with the Craig. I've never hated her or anything, but I've just never thought much about her, other than the Mummy, of course. It's wonderful. But she's great in it. Emma Stone, I agree with you, is fantastic. I like Queen Sophie from Peep Show. I don't know. I guess those three are really the only ones that. Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, I wanted to say shout out to him because I didn't know he was in it, and then he popped up on screen, and because he's obviously wearing so much makeup and the wig, it took me a second to place him, and then I did, and I really enjoyed seeing him in a role like that because I wouldn't have thought to put him there, but I thought he was great.
Yeah, all the performances all the way around were great. The comedic timing was fantastic. I don't know, like immediately it starts off and you get Rachel Weisz and I don't remember the actual actress.
I believe it's
name.
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman, shame on you.
She was in Hot Fuzz. Come on.
That was the weird thing when I was watching this film. I was like, I don't know this actress at all. I've never heard of her, never seen her.
Oh, I
And
mean,
then-
in fairness, she is very popular in the UK, and she hasn't really done much in Hollywood.
Right.
I also think that's one of the reasons she's so good. Like, she's been over here on TV for years, just getting better.
It's
like a couple of years ago at the BAFTAs, because we've had BAFTAs for TV as well, she won in 2 categories, and that's never happened before. She won supporting actor performance and lead actor performance, one in comedy and one in drama, and they were like, the performances were so far apart from one another, but she was absolutely the deserved winner in both categories. And since then, she's kind of just been on a pedestal for most British people.
That's really interesting because honestly, like after the fact, when I was looking up on this movie, because I was honestly so enamored with it after I finished it, and I saw that she was PC Doris Thatcher in Hot Fuzz, I was like, well,
she's a fair bit since then.
yeah,
Yeah, I recognized her face, and I was sitting there talking to Lacey, my fiance, and I was like, "Who is this woman?" And she kind of looks at her, and she's like, "That's I guess Sophie is the character's name in Peep Show." And I was like, "Oh shit, that is." But that's the only frame of reference I had for her. I never saw Hot Fuzz.
yeah.
I know that's a big mistake on my part, but I thought she was wonderful in this. Yeah, it's really those 4 just constantly playing off each other that really make the movie.
I mean, and
It's
the
just
dialogue,
hilarious.
the back and forth.
It's just hilarious. Like just that opening little sequence you get where she's like, she unveils the palace that she's gonna give to Sarah Churchill, and she's like, "We can't afford this. We're at war." And she's like, "I thought it was over." And it's like, "Nope, it must go on." And she's like, "Oh," and looks really disappointed. Like that cracked me up, and I was like, "All right, I'm in."
Yeah. I really feel the story of the film and the style of Yorgos Lanthimos and how he directs, how stylized he is, it's a brilliant pairing. Because I would say, do see other Yorgos Lanthimos films if you haven't. But for me, this is my favorite because I feel like it's the time when it most perfectly comes together, and his weird idiosyncrasies really work with the story. So I'm really pleased to see it on the list, and it probably is maybe not my favorite, but like my top two, and I would very happily see it win. And it's unique. You can't really compare it. Well, obviously we're going to compare it to the films. That was a stupid thing to say. But it's just, I really like how offbeat it is, and it does it without being annoying or affected.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It definitely all just feels like it's natural and it flows in a very genuine way. EJ, did you have any thoughts on this one?
It is. I agree with you guys. It is tied for my favorite. There is something else that I love just as much as it. It's perfect. It's my exact type of movie. It's offensive. It's funny. It's wild. It's a little bit of everything, and it's what I go into. I mean, if there was more gore in this movie, it would literally be everything I want in a movie ever. It's just female-led. It checks off so many boxes. If it had Lady Gaga in it, it would be my favorite movie of the year, actually. Holy hell. She would have been, oh my God, I'm just like fantasizing about Lady Gaga in this movie, in the outfit. Anyways, it's perfect. It's great. I had a great time with it. I would love it to win. It's not going to win, but in the best world, this wins. In the best world, actually, this is a three-way tie for Best Actress. Give it to Glenn Close, give it to Olivia Colman, give it to Gaga. Like, just who cares? They all deserve it. This was a good year for
winners.
Everybody gets a participation award.
They could do like Mean Girls. They can like break up the Oscar and toss it out to people. Did I just make a Mean Girls reference and no one got it?
No, I got that reference.
Yeah, you think I haven't seen Mean Girl?
You just didn't give us a second.
I grew up with three sisters. Every woman I've ever been in a relationship with has made me watch it at least once. So yes. I guess we know what your other favorite movie of this year is then, given that Screed.
Yeah. Can we segue into it then?
Yes, this is that segue.
Oh, awesome. A Star is Born is the next on the list. And I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I think this is a well-made piece. I think this is one of my favorite films about the industry, about Hollywood, about music that feels real. And there's a lot in it that I can tell Gaga was like, this is how women are treated. This is how they're talked to.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good look. I do think it's a little heavy of a Bradley Cooper film for me. I've seen all the versions of A Star is Born except for the very first Janet Gaynor one. But I've seen Julie. I've seen Barbara. This was great. I think Gaga adds her list to the gay icons for that reason. I think Bradley Cooper directed a great film. I think Sam Elliott, Andrew Dice Clay. This is Dave Chappelle. The supporting cast is great. But this is, to me, I think Gaga, this was her coming out party. I think I was happy to see. I'm a big fan. Had the same tattoo as her. So it's like this. There's a heavy bias here, but it's also a real one. She did a good performance.
I agree. I went into seeing this film, same as you. I've seen most of the other A Star is Born, and it was announced, and I was like, I find it weird that Bradley Cooper is so intent on doing this. No one needs a fourth version of this film. So I went in with really low expectations, kind of thinking of a whole like Disney cash grab, remaking things constantly. What is the point? What else is there to share? And I was really pleased to feel like I'd been totally wrong. I agree with what you were saying, EJ, about like I feel like it was a genuine story. And what's interesting, and this is not me man bashing, I will say, but I saw it with a guy friend of mine, and his one criticism was that he felt the storyline was a little bit unrealistic. Now, he hadn't seen any of the other A Star is Born, so he didn't really know that that's kind of the story as it goes.
Yes.
But also, I felt so strongly as a woman, and also as a woman who is in the performance industry, I was just like, no, this is what it is like. This is, you might not like to sit there and have it thrown in your face. Because, I mean, it's not the most subtle of films, but this, to me, is genuine. And I don't think it's over the top. And because he was like, oh, well, but he's like so much older than her. Yeah. And like, oh, it's a bit weird because, like, he has the influence. It's kind of a bit like, yeah. Like, what do you think has been happening in the industry for since time in memoriam? So, and yeah, I like Lady Gaga. Like, she's great. I'm not a huge fan, but I can 100% say I thought she was really great in this film. And I love Shallow, and I want it to win Best Song, and I don't care how basic that makes me.
I will say the only thing quickly that I slightly disagree with you on is I do think this is a story that can be told again. There's a reason this has been done 4 times.
Oh no, I think I was proven wrong. That's yeah,
and I like it because the industry always changes. Like how it was in the 30s with the old Hollywood, how it was in the 70s with that. I think this is a story that they can do it again in another 30 or 40 years because it's going to evolve as well. And I think honestly, this is a timeless story, and I'm glad Hollywood does get to have a story that literally can evolve when Hollywood evolves. And I think that's kind of my biggest why I think it should be rewarded is it to me is a true Hollywood like legacy film.
I definitely do want to see this movie. I don't know if I can get anybody to watch it with me, so it might just be an off day whenever it's on VOD.
I would watch it with you, but there is an ocean between us.
I would say the significant other might be a little bit upset during this movie if she does not like the dramas and the sadness. This does get sad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she might not be too terribly interested in that. But yeah, because I read off the synopsis to her, and she's like, "I don't want to watch that. That sounds miserable." But
actually, definitely don't make her sit through this.
Yeah,
there are no punches pulled.
Yeah, like me and Tori have seen this enough that you get to a point when you watch this movie that you're like, "Oh, so nothing matters." It's like this is just gonna be sad, isn't it? Yeah, it's gonna be sad.
The cast has me sold on it, though. I've never seen any of the versions of this movie. But
you don't need to have done. You really don't. But
I like.
No, honestly, it'd be better if you don't, because then you won't know anything.
Gotcha. The two.
I mean, Venice. I think you're right.
The two leads don't interest me that much. I like Lady Gaga as a musical artist. I don't really think anything about her as an actor.
Someone hasn't seen American Horror Story Hotel.
No. You would think.
I mean, look at her whole career though. She's been acting since the meat dress.
Yeah,
sure.
She is a character.
I'm making no statement whatsoever on her acting.
Yeah,
this is none. Like I imagine she can be great. Fine, she's very talented. But like Sam Elliott, tell one, like Roadhouse is one of the best movies ever made. So so you tell me Sam Elliott's in anything, and I'm gonna watch it. Dave Chappelle being in it is weird. Andrew Dice Clay is what sells this movie.
And he is the most. Andrew Dice Clay is involved to me in one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the movie as well. He is so good. He is so.
Yeah.
He is every Italian dad ever, and I love him for that. And I think he's great. Chappelle, he has a smallish role, but the other one, Sam Elliott, honestly made me cry in this movie. Like he's one of the few times I teared up in this movie because of Sam Elliott.
100%.
All he does in the scene is just turn around backwards to pull out of the driveway, and I'm just like, he is so good. But to me, if I'm glad you said about Andrew Dice Clay, because he will surprise you. He is like a dad that you're kind of like, oh, I kind of want to punch you, but I want to hug you. He's he's so good.
And he does
well-drawn character.
My favorite thing about this conversation right now, though, is that every time you say Andrew Dice Clay is good, Gerald's brow furrows and he gets clearly angry, and that's probably because I made him sit through The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Well, don't worry. There is no like hickory dickory dock in this. Like you're fine. There's none of that. He actually like acts, and that's a weird statement. No, he's like, to me, the first time I thought he was an actor, he legit said he never wants to do another movie again because he was like, this is the one time I got it.
Yeah, I'm on board with this. This is up my alley anyway. Movies like this. Or like Crazy Heart and movies like that. So I'm into it.
Me personally, like I After hearing what y'all have said about it, I will probably get back and watch this. But I just remember the only thing I can think about this film was when the trailer came out. My first instinct was great. The fourth time we're getting this film. My second instinct was Lady Gaga playing a role where we have to believe that people think she's ugly. And I'm
You
like,
know, though, that is a common thing. She gets called, I literally am, I've heard this enough. She does get called ugly a lot. And she talks about in the movie, they make fun of her nose in the industry. Like, they legit have
Yeah.
people, like, her real Gaga, have people have told her to get a nose job. And that's kind of a point that they joke about in the movie, is her nose is too big. And it's that, to me, makes it endearing, is we all know she's not hideous, but there is things about her that make her, quote unquote, unconventional. But that, to me, is what kind of their love story. I don't want to like give anything away, but their love story is based on how she isn't confident in her look, even when he's like, "You're dumb for thinking this." So I think you even kind of, you get to play his character here, where you're like, "Girl, really? You're ugly." Like, come on. And
that's
she doesn't
fair.
believe it. And I like that. And I think that's, to me, it's not like everyone's like, "You're hideous, you're hideous." She's kind of really the only one who feels that way. And that's a true thing for women. That's, I think, sometimes everyone else can say something and you don't get it. And, you know, as she keeps saying, all it takes is that one person in that room of 99 people, or whatever her quote is. Oh, she said it so many times on the press tour.
Well, that's fair. Like I said, I'll get around to it eventually.
Yeah, when it comes to a streaming service, I think I'm into it. Any other thoughts there? Nope.
No,
Sounds like nope. I don't think any of us did. Anybody sit through Roma?
I did. I love it.
Yeah. EJ, I think has the most to say on it. I can offer kind of support comments, but I feel like EJ, you lead this.
Yeah, I'll keep it short since it doesn't seem to be the massively interested. But to me, it's going to be the winner of the night. It is a true artist piece. Alfonso Cuarón wrote, directed, did the cinematography, edited the film, did the direction. This is his film, and I'm a film kid. I went to film school. I've made short films. I respect it. I think he deserves any recognition he gets because he made a film that's pure him. It's 100%. There's something in filmmaking called auteur theory, where basically it's the creator's one vision, one mind going the whole way. John Waters, Quentin Tarantino, kind of like that mindset. This, to me, is his movie where he gets to be an auteur. There's no outside interference. There's no gravity with like all that. This is one simple story. It's beautiful. I like it. I don't think it's going to be for everyone. It's a dry film. I will admit that. But it's a beautiful, beautiful drama. It's going to win. No one should be shocked. I don't think it's going to win Best Foreign. It is not the best foreign film, though. Shoplifters from Japan is way better.
Yeah, I've not seen Shoplifters, but I have heard similar things. For me, I will start this by saying I have not finished Roma, so I can't give a full nuanced view of it. But I did struggle with its dryness. I totally agree with you. It's such a personal film, and in that way, it's kind of a real pleasure to watch because you can really see how much of himself Cuarón put into it. But I struggled. I struggled with the pace so far. I will finish it. I think that's only fair. But I struggled with the pace, and I just feel like for me as well, the hype slightly ruined it because all I heard was it's a 5-star film. It's amazing. I love it so much. And one of my stupid mental blocks is that then for me puts a film so high up on a pedestal I can only be disappointed. Which is kind of my issue to work through more.
I agree. Yeah. The hype hurt this, and I think that's what I think the same thing kind of happened to A Star is Born, where a lot of people hyped that up, and I think it hurt that one a slight little bit as well. But no, I do think Roma is, to me, I'm a film kid. Film to me is an art before business, before it is entertainment. It's an art, and this was an artist doing his thing. I'll respect that. Do I think everyone's going to love it? No, I don't. I'm not shocked by it, but to me, this is the most Oscar-y of the picks. It's not Oscar baity. To me, Oscar baity is like Green Book is the Oscar bait of the list.
Oh, yeah,
but Roma to me is the most Oscar-feeling film.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, I would agree.
It interests me. I like Cuarón, like any movie of his that I've seen, which I guess it's only been the big ones. Harry Potter. What did he do with the third one? and Children of Men and Gravity, but this sounds interesting to me. Like, I'm into it. I just have to be in a place where I'm not going to fall asleep watching a movie.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I tried to watch it in the middle of like a tour when I was staying in a travel lodge, which is like a really terrible kind of, I don't know, Days Inn, I guess is the American equivalent. Is that bad for you guys? Like, if that's bad, then that's what a travel lodge is.
Yeah,
And
Days Inn is
I fell
like
asleep.
Slightly above a Motel 6.
upper bad.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
lower
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Travel lodge is. I mean, I'm sorry for anyone working with travel lodges, but it's the worst of the worst.
Lost their sponsorship. Wow. There we
Damn.
go.
Sorry, guys. Really, yeah, ruined that for us.
Her reviews do
But yeah,
not.
so I really
represent the
struggled
views of this
watching it the
podcast.
first time. Then I've sat down this time, but like, yeah, you can't be doing anything else at the same time.
Mm.
And also, just really quickly, from a Netflix point of view, I think it's amazing. Obviously, Netflix has been, Oscar nominated for best film. That's such a coup for them. But I do wonder about the format of the film. It's amazing that it being on Netflix means everyone can watch it. I don't think it necessarily means they have, but they can.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also feel like if I had been forced to sit in a cinema and watch this on a big screen, I could probably enjoy it more.
Mm.
I
I
just
can
feel
see
like I could
that.
immerse myself in it more.
It's that like pretentious Christopher Nolan mindset where like this should be viewed in a cinema, not on your iPhone. Yeah, this one should have maybe been viewed in
Yeah.
the cinema.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, it would force you to concentrate on every detail.
that I agree with you 100% there.
I can see that. Did anybody see Green Book? EJ, you said you did.
It is. Literally, I could wrap it up. I don't want to offend you three, and I will say this as lightly as I can. This movie is the definition of white mediocrity, where like a filmmaker, like white filmmaker, puts in the most minimal effort and gets the pat on the back for it.
Yeah.
This feels like it. I don't like a scene where a white guy teaches a black guy how to eat fried chicken. Found that to be kind of racist. I don't know.
Wow.
And there's a story reason behind it, and it's not like it's an out of nowhere scene. But there's just a lot of like, hey, read the room kind of feeling
Yeah.
to this movie where I'm like, I don't think this is the movie we should be making.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is a movie for racists, but racists might like this movie.
Make them feel better about.
That
But
is
no.
this episode soundbite.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'm only kind of being hyperbolic just to play around too. But no, it's boring. That's to me the biggest sin of this. It's pretty just boring. Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor.
Mhm.
He's my pick to play Piccolo in a live-action Dragon Ball Z movie, to Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, I want him to do everything, but I think he could. That's why I don't want to award him for Best Supporting Actor, because honestly, he could do better. He's done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
Well, I mean, I have to,
Moonlight
like-
award was better.
Yeah. You do not offend me by saying this film is what you consider to be white mediocrity.
Yeah, no, not
Actually,
at all.
I kind of am pleased because that is exactly what I thought from the trailer. I was making a decision. A lot of these films came out later in the UK than the US. I was rushing to try and see all of them, and Green Book fell to the bottom of my list because I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't excite me. It feels a bit awkward. I know it's based on a true story, but I was picking up just from the trailer and just from murmurings I'd heard the idea you suggested, which is that it's kind of white person preachy, and
Yes.
that's not comfortable. And as you said, I don't really feel like it should be rewarded, and it's a shame because I think Viggo Mortensen is a good actor, and I agree with you. Mahershala Ali should be in everything, particularly because I learned how to say his name, so I like to say it a lot. Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
He's in a lot
And
now.
yeah, I kind of agree. If he won the supporting actor category, which is quite likely he will do, he then kind of awards the film. And I agree. I think of all the films in this category, you can say what you want about a lot of them, but I would 100% agree. And I haven't even seen the film, so your opinion is far more valid, of course, EJ. It's lazy. It looks lazy.
Mahershala? Is that how you say it?
Mahershala.
Mahershala.
Yes.
Mahershala Ali. He's having quite a
Yeah.
month, though. He's got nominated for an Oscar. He is the star.
The best part of Alita.
I haven't seen Alita, but yeah, he's in Alita. I want to go see it. I've read a bit of the manga, and he's also his True Detective.
Mhm.
He's the lead in True Detective season 3. So I guess he's just having a great month, and I still haven't seen anything with him in it. So,
Same.
but I'm
You've never seen Luke Cage?
Was he?
He was Cottonmouth.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I didn't see all of Luke Cage, but yes. Okay, then I have seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, he
Yes.
He doesn't last that long, so you probably seen enough that he was in.
Yep. Nope. I'm recalling that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a fantastic actor. He was amazing in Moonlight. I like
So
him.
good in Moonlight.
Yeah, I
But,
haven't seen Moonlight yet.
To me, this supporting actor, I would go with Adam Driver or Sam Elliott before I would go for him, because we didn't really get to talk about it, because I think that's our last one is BlacKkKlansman to talk about.
Yes, let's jump into that because I loved it.
We've all seen it, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent.
I would say it's my third favorite out of this list. After A Star Is Born and favorite tying it up, I loved BlacKkKlansman too. I think it felt like Spike Lee had fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like the first time in 20 years. Like
First time it's a serious movie, not to take away from the the gravity of this film, but I felt like he got on set and smiled and had a good time, and he wasn't just at a Knicks game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was like the most Spike Lee movie since Malcolm X, I guess. And I thought it was a great time. I enjoyed every second of it. It is horrifying in parts. It ends
last
very
15 minutes
powerfully.
of reality.
Yes, it is a motherfucker. And I don't know. All of the performances were great. Somehow, like, I really bought Topher Grace in a performance. I didn't know it would be David Duke.
I just, when he turned up and did his little thing, I was like, oh, you're so repulsive. It's so great.
And I love that David Duke's still alive and has to watch that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that seems like the
Yeah.
best insult you could ever do to a living man is have Topher Grace play you on film.
Yeah.
Jesus, like, it was fantastic.
And my quick sidebar, Adam Driver, man crush every day. He's so awesome. He's like another Mahershala where I'm just like, I don't know why I like you so much, but I just want to see you.
I agree. He kind of it shouldn't work physically how he looks, but it so does.
Yeah. He's just overall, and I mean his odd Kylo Ren dad bod. I'm
my
happy
god,
for him.
don't I can't. Like, almost every female I speak to, we are all in complete agreement over Adam Driver. Like, you can't define it. You don't want to define it. You just want to go with it. And he's great. And he also, he's a great actor too. Yeah.
Yes. And my best friend is Jewish, and I often now tell him I want to make him take a Jew lie detector test, which is one of my favorite lines I've ever heard. Once again, it's such a Spike Lee line.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for this stupid, hilarious, great movie.
Still want me to
And
take
can
a
we
Jew
talk a
lie
minute as
detector
well
test?
on John David Washington as the main character?
Yes.
I kind of assumed he would be related to Denzel, and of course he is.
No, is
I
he?
did not know he had been a footballer previously, and this was like him transitioning into acting, because I really thought he was great, and I really felt like he maybe deserved to be a bit more up in the awards this season.
He should be nominated. He should have been nominated.
Yeah, I just like, I mean, this sounds so wanky, but I watching his face, he really had the whole actor thing nailed, where like, you don't need to do stuff all the time.
Mm.
And he
That's his
had like
daddy.
that like, yeah, exactly. I was like, this is Denzel. He's like, it's in the blood. Like, it's going on behind his eyes. You are seeing everything you need to see and understanding what he's feeling, and he's not having to like act up.
Oh, he's
He's
Denzel's
so
kid.
good. And like, and he
Okay.
works so well, like against Adam Driver, who is a different type of actor. It just, I think
I thought they
he's
had a
overlooked.
great dynamic. I don't know. It was all around a fantastic movie. Who was the actor that played the lead of the head of that clan chapter in the glasses?
I don't recall.
He looks familiar, but I can never remember who it is.
Hang on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to find out.
Okay. Because he looks very familiar, and it was just like,
Well, for at least for the podcast listeners, they can get this. Like, this was one that me and Tori wanted to suggest to you guys, and I will say we were both so happy you guys like this, because we were like, oh, we were right. From what I've heard of, like, just talking with you guys and doing the show, I knew you guys would like this one. It just felt so right up your alley, of like the mix of comedy and realism and darkness, but still fun. I really, this is another one that I could see this coming out of nowhere and winning, and I would be fine.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this movie was fantastic, and I honestly, I kind of wish I could have seen y'all's faces whenever both Alan and I, without even having discussed it beforehand, came to realize that we like The Favorite more than we like this. Because even though BlacKkKlansman was a fantastic film, I don't think y'all expected us to be as into The Favorite as we were.
Not at all. But at the same time, I think you guys. I always say that's like the best kind of catfish movie where you think you're like, haha, we're getting this, and it's this. It was pure, like you said, oh, this is going to be a period piece. Oh, no. This is like a legitimate, like, slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
But BlacKkKlansman, I honestly loved every bit of it. Yeah, again, performances were on point. Adam Driver, like you can kind of see in his performance, just kind of like knowing that he kind of has to hide his Jewish heritage, going through with all of this, but at the same time trying not to get too wrapped up into this war with the Klan, because part of him feels like it's not really his fight until he finally realizes, yes, this is also his fight.
Yeah.
And he just, like that conflict that you see in him, it's a really great performance out of him. He is my pick for supporting actor, even though Sam Rockwell knocked it out of the park. But Adam Driver is my pick because of this film. Writing was on point, and honestly, yeah, this is a return to form for. Oh my God! Why am I blanking on the director's name?
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee. I don't know why I kept thinking
I'm
Stanley.
here for you with more names. It took me a sec because it's been a while. I saw BlacKkKlansman like 6 months ago. Ryan Eggold, I think that's how you say it, is the actor who you're talking about in the glasses. He plays like the chapter leader, who is a perfect psycho in it. And also, it took me like I remember actually looking him up once I'd seen the film because, embarrassingly enough, the only thing I had seen him in was the 90210 reboot.
Ow.
In my dark teenage years, he was like the teacher, who is clearly like only 4 years older than the people playing his students in that. So like to see him in something like this, I was so not expecting it, but I thought he was great.
Which is so funny. I relate to you because the only reason I know Richard E. Grant, who was in Can You Ever Forgive Me, is because he was in Spice World, the Spice Girls movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only way I know that actor. So I was like, well, so we all have weird
in
tastes.
fairness, it's kind of the same in the UK. It's either Spice World or probably more so With Snell and I. That's like his big breakthrough. People still talk about it. If you want to see a British film with Richard E. Grant in, 100% see that.
I'm just going to rewatch Spice World this week.
Yeah, I was fixing to say.
I think we all just need to revisit Spice World.
Quick aside. I mean, can we just agree that that is the new Hard Day's Night?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone's on board. Let's take a quick little break, and then we'll talk about some of the remnants of stuff that didn't necessarily fall into the Best Picture category, and then we'll be out of here.